To us on 22422 on Twitter. At Bajabs on Twitter says, how do you expect the stalemate to end when doctors are dealing with people who never stepped into a public hospital? Okay. Philip still on Twitter says the only solution is to sack them all and employ others who are in need of the jobs. And we still have more tweets, right? Shabanji Shadrack says doctors are asking for implementation of the 2013 CBA, not 300%. CS Mailu now wants doctors to enter into another CBA. Ochoggia says problems bedeviling health sector are far more than the doctor strike. Okay. Ephantus says jailing officials, CBA 7, will not solve the doctor strike. The solution is to implement the 2013 CBA. And Githua says the striking doctors should be expelled from the payroll. Right. You're saying that is true. You whispered that is true. Umo Luga, that is Secretary General, KMPDU, right? And Jerry Chege, who's the Deputy National Treasurer. Thank you so much both for making time for us tonight. Remember on Sunday in studio we had Health Cabinet Secretary Dr. Clever Mailu again blamed you, just like he did today, saying it's your fault again that this is not happening. So 51 days into the strike, we're not even close to ending this again. You met the CS today. He says, because I wanted to ask if there's anything tangible, I'll ask what he offered from what we have seen, but he says it is you, the doctors, who are not interested in alleviating the suffering of the people. Why didn't you find what he offered today important or worthwhile? I'll start with you.
Thank you, Hussein. I think it's very shameful for our country that the doctors can be on strike for 51 days, and all we keep hearing is, oh, these doctors have had line stand, which is actually very far from the truth. I have two things to say. One is, forget the CBA 2013. The strike itself has been mishandled, and the strike has been mishandled from the negotiation perspective, because the government, and particularly the CS and the people on the table, have always insisted on negotiating with a way to either defeat the purpose of the negotiation or to trash the collective bargaining agreement of 2013, which is the reason why doctors went on strike. Doctors did not go on strike simply because they were asking for some arbitrary salary increases or offers. I think it's very important to note that today, and even the days that we've been engaging, we as a union have engaged in a lot of good faith. And let me state that good faith today. We have always stated that we are willing to engage on the basis of the CBA 2013, which is the reason why we went on strike. The government has always insisted on doing their things. They come, they don't even have, in fact, they don't recognize the CBA. It's recently that they started even having printed documents. Forget about even the CBA. Now today, we went to the Minister of Health, and I have to say that even earlier in the morning at 6, myself and my chair, we were meeting the Cabinet Secretary. We had a very good meeting with him. Last week, we again met him. We started discussion of the CBA up to page 10. Now today, when he presented a document that he has typed in his own house and brought as a CBA, I asked him two questions. One is, last week we began a process where we were looking at the CBA. Close by close. Close by close, and we went up to page 10. Right. So now it's important. I asked him, are we abandoning that process? Because he has gone and typed his own CBA, okay? Which even negates the same things that the President has said, which negates the same things that even themselves as a government have said before. In his defense, he's saying, you can say he's typed his own CBA, but in his defense, he has typed what he says is an attempt to negotiate with the doctors' union. What is it that you don't find worthwhile in this? What is it that you're not agreeing with in this? Now, Hussein, what offer do you want from them?
Let me start from, when you enter into a negotiation, it's between two parties. Now, when only one party sits down and comes up with a document and presents to the other party and says that you have to accept it, what we can negotiate about is when we can start it, be it January of 2017 or of July 2017.
And July.
And this is no longer the CBA of 2013 that we're discussing. This is a new CBA that the CS has brought to the table. So now, in good faith.
So what you're saying is that there was no room for negotiations when he brought this?
Absolutely.
He said it has to be this and that is it.
Much of this, if you're reading it, is a rule book of how to punish doctors.
Okay, those are your words against the Health Cabinet Secretary. We can't take them from gospel truth.
No, the document is here.
The document is here for sure, but for you,
parts of it for you.
That's fine. I've read it myself. But for you to say that he said it has to be this, you have to take this, no negotiations of this. That's what you're saying.
Yes, and he kept threatening us. Actually, he has done this severally. He kept threatening us. Oh, you know, you're going to jail. And I think sometimes they think that that will, in terms of sort of trying to torture you to get a lesser deal. And what they have done here, in fact, let's look at even the table that he's put here. So today he says that this is job group M, and they have put the same things that they have been advertising in the newspaper on job group L, which are actually also lies. If you look at the basic salaries of doctors, you will see the basic salary at job group M is actually 41,000. They have reached near 44,000. That is what is currently there.
Yes.
All right.
Again, these job groups actually are null and void come July because SRC has new banding. So we actually even stated that we want to engage based on what is going to change. Now, this document in itself, as we mentioned to you, effective date 1st of July. Our CBA effective date was July 2013.
Okay.
This is 2017.
Right.
If you read most of the clauses here, it's about at the behest of the institution, the doctor shall have postgraduate training withdrawn, master's program shall, if not be complete, cannot be extended or renewed. You know, it's just
fine, you don't agree with it, in other words. So last time you...
No, it's a waste of Kenyan's time, and I think it's very important to say that...
Last time he was here, look, I'll give you time to talk. There's no problem. Last time he was here, rather. He said there's somebody else behind the doctors' union. That you sit and agree, this is what he said, if you watched, that you sit and agree, and this is out of the meetings that you had on Thursday and on Wednesday and Tuesday last week, 17th and 18th. And after the meetings, you change your position. Up and above that, or over and above that, you always insist, and that is what he said, you're always insisting on the CBA. I want to ask both of you now, are you still insisting it has to be what was in the CBA of 2013?
Hussein, we have been on this journey for quite a long time. Today is day 51, and I think Kenyans need to be told the truth. The truth is that the doctors of this country went on a strike because of the registration and implementation of CBA 2013.
Right.
And that is not a headline position. Let me tell you that we on the table, and she can talk about this, have presented 7 different ways, seeding ways, conceding of how this thing can be presented.
Okay.
1, looking at a phased out presentation, implementation. 2, looking at how this can fit in the public civil structure and even the SRC job groups.
Right.
3, looking at how we can amend
I'm coming to that.
some of those.
I'm coming to that and what you think should be done. But my question still remains. I'm still asking you this question. Does it have to be what was in the CBA?
It has to be what was in the CBA. Does the government wants to throw away its own document? I mean, I also...
That is the government. In a day's time, I think on Thursday, you all risk jail, including you.
Yes.
You'll tell us if you're ready for all that, which you have already, I'm sure. But in a day's time, you'll risk jail. That court ruling did not recognize the CBA. You say the government... You've always been accusing the government of failing to follow the procedure. And very well, it is well documented. We have been with government officials before. We've asked them those questions, and it is true they did not follow what the court said before. But you did not also follow the court orders when it said the strike should not proceed. And you're not also following the court order when it says it does not recognize the CBA. For you to go and say everything must be done according to the CBA.
I think actually the court...
let us respond, yeah.
Well, we are law-abiding citizens. But it comes a time when justice is being used on one side, yes? Because we gave the necessary mechanisms, yeah? We gave the necessary how can I put it, the necessary things that needed to be put in place, yeah, so that we allow the court process and due process to be done, yes? Yes, but now when it reaches a point where even the Constitution says we give a 7-day strike notice, we gave the government 21-day strike notice. And on the strike notice elapsing, is that when they start running to the courts to be used to come and start oppressing us as a union and trying to suppress us and gag us, our voices.
Let me add something about the issue of the court, because it's very important that Kenyans understand this, and even the doctors. So what happened in the issue of the court is that there's the court case that was on the CBA.
Yes.
Okay, and then there's the court case that was on the strike. Right. That the Council of, and I'll just take 1 minute to explain this. The Council of Governors moved to court to suspend the strike notice. That order was never served on us until the strike was on. Sure. In fact, until the time that we were being convicted guilty of contempt of court, we had not been heard by the same court.
I must say that I wasn't even on the list initially. I came
then
to
her name was added.
My name was added.
Let me also say this, that even the judge that was pronouncing herself on the CBA, the case that was before her was on contempt of court, not CBA. The CBA case would have been dealt with under Justice Monica Mbaro. The other thing also is that this particular court case, this particular court order was impossible to obey because they were sending us to the Council of Governors who are not parties to this CBA. This CBA was signed between the Union and the Ministry of Health. The Council of Governors does not represent anyone.
But they want conclusive. They want all the parties involved to discuss this matter. Let me. You started this. You said it very well when you talked about courts, that the CBA, when you went on strike, I mean, it came from a court ruling, isn't it, that favored you as the doctors' union. You gave the government time, 30 days, 45 days for SRC, and ultimately 90 days, isn't it? It is from this court ruling that you ultimately decided to go on strike. Now, there's another court that has said it does not recognize the CBA. My question is, I mean, both now, I mean, I don't want to say, but the government did not follow the court rulings. Now you're also saying you're not agreeing with that judge who issued Justice Osilo. But at the end of the day, he still said that they don't recognize the CBA. My question is, must it be then now that when you go to the negotiating table, it has to be based on the CBA? Is there any other way out of this? Because the court has said it does not recognize that CBA.
Hussein, let me tell you, the issue about CBA, this CBA is just a collection, okay, of how the employer should engage with the employee. Now, it's also a set of things that were already agreed, okay, and that means that it carries within it the history of the union, the things that had been agreed upon before. We are willing to engage, and we have always been willing to engage. And I've told you we have said 7, but I've even told you 3 of those different ways, where we ourselves have asked government and advised them, okay, so if this is very difficult for you because of SRC, look at the SRC job evaluation. Where did they place doctors? Why don't we try to fit this before here? We amend it, register it in court. We've looked at a phased out approach. When is it possible to do this? We've looked at, relax sometimes. We've looked at how do you separate non-monetary issues here, like training and employment, which are very important to doctors, and transfer.
So ultimately, what you're telling me, what you're telling me is that because this is a document. This is a document that so much work went into this document.
And I have to say this again. I think the CS has been trying to sabotage negotiations. You saw last week we started negotiations on Tuesday, and then Wednesday, and then Thursday they did not call us again when they had told media. They were negotiating. They did not call. So then the whole of Monday, he was here with you on Sunday. He said he's going to call us. They did not call us. Media was calling me on Monday, telling me that we have been called and we hadn't been called. So what you're telling me, I want to say this because there are people who have offered to mediate between the union and the government, and we as a union have accepted. LSK is one of them, Kenya National Commission of Human Rights.
As a union, you're saying because there's so much work that went to the...
They go to the ministry and the government refuses.
I'll give you time. I'll give you time. They'll understand. I'll give you time to say that. But I just want to go past this point. You're saying then, at the end of the day, because there's so much work that went into the CBA, still any negotiations must be based on this.
Of course.
regardless of what the court said and whether it recognizes this or not. Still, it has been based on the CBA.
Of course.
Okay. But Hussein, I'd like to ask, which court has not recognized our CBA?
The latest ruling. And this is why.
I think we are mixing issues here, because the latest ruling is for contempt of court orders.
But they said very clearly they don't recognize the CBA because it was not registered. They also said you also go and involve other parties. So my question is, you've talked about SRC. You've talked about SRC.
It's
okay. To get back to the ruling.
That is what the ruling says.
No,
we all know what the ruling says.
You know, there's what is pronounced and then there's the ruling that is written.
Okay.
You need to get that.
Okay, let's move this forward.
Yes.
On Thursday, you're ready to go to jail.
Yes.
Whatever happens.
Yes.
So
let me say this to Hussein. I do not have a choice. I do not have a choice. Where we've reached right now, we're like my Secretary General has said, we're on the day 51 of a doctor strike, a national doctor strike. The referral hospitals, two of them, Kenyatta National Referral Hospital and Moi Teaching and Referral Hospital, have been closed for 51 days. So now you tell me, it's not a matter of money. It is not a matter of equipment. It's not a matter of training. We are beyond that now, Hussein. It is now for the Kenyan citizen to stand up and ask, why are our doctors not in the hospital? They instead want to put our doctors in prisons. Is that now where we are leading to?
So finally, I mean, for the Kenyans watching this, and there are so many texts from Kenyans who are really, really frustrated with all this, really just trying to see, hoping there'll be, a breakthrough in all this. They blame the government. There are those who blame you as well and say you don't really care about the suffering of Kenyans. What is it really that can solve this, according to you? What is it really that can solve this? There are a lot of aspects here. But if I was to pick an example and talk about the basic salary, what really is the minimum you can work with?
We thank you for saying that, because this morning actually I spent a lot of my time speaking to the cabinet secretary. In fact, I'm very shocked about how he speaks, because I spent a lot of my time this morning answering that same question. What is it that the doctors can accept? What is it that will take doctors back to work? And basically I was trying to offer our advice as doctors. In terms of basic salary, there is what the SRC already did, which we are saying themselves, they place doctors in band D and medical specialists in band E. That's already government document. Why don't we fit that and look at the appendix A and put it there?
And it's similar.
And it is
similar to actually what we are asking.
Exactly.
Meaning you don't even need to go and negotiate with the SRC again.
Thank you. Yes. Now that is one option. The second option that we gave them is, you've talked about you giving this kind of offers, which look, these are actually a mischief. These are not offers. I think the public needs to know this is actually mischief if you consider it. We've said, whatever you are giving, look at the aspirations that we have. Have a phased out approach. When are we doing the rest? When are we enhancing this basic salary? Now let me say that we met the president, and I want to say this very clearly. He demonstrated a lot of goodwill in solving this problem, and we talked about many things, and there are three things that I really want to talk about. One, he said there has to be long-term health reforms, which will lead to a way in which we can handle human resource. Two, he said, and to the Public Service Commission and to the CS of Health, he said very well, let's look at a way in which we start a process to get a doctors a separate grading structure, so that in the future we are not having the same problems that we are having. And three is the issues of allowances. Even those, the things that he said, number one, these people are disobeying the president.
That's what I was coming to. You're saying the president has shown a lot of goodwill. So where's the problem? The minister?
Thank you.
The principal secretary? Where's the problem?
The problem is with the people we sit across.
There's also the Ministry of Labor, which tried to mediate in this. So where's the problem? According to the doctors' union, where's the problem?
The problem is the leadership of the Ministry of Health.
That is the minister? You've been negotiating with them So where is the problem?
You have seen
if you're saying the president gave you his ear, and I mean, he was very, very helpful.
We are very clear of who the problem is. I don't know whether you want us to
I'm not clear
names,
because you've been meeting them.
Yes, and the same people that we meet, then they come change goalposts. The same person I was meeting today in the morning,
okay,
then
so
then we go and meet today in the afternoon, and then he goes and writes his own document. He negotiates with himself. A collective bargaining. He sits in his house and writes a bargain. What's the word bargaining means? We are sitting across the table. Last week we were discussing the CBA. We reached page 10, and I asked him only one question: have we abandoned that process?
Okay, finally.
And we were making headway. We were making headway. Let it be known that everyone should know that we're actually making headway.
Right. You've talked about the SRC grading.
Yes.
Just for Kenyans to understand, where does that place you in terms of basic salary? I know this is a big issue, but so are other issues in the CBA.
Yes.
I mean, there's transfers, there's promotions, there's everything. But in terms of basic salary, the minimum or the maximum, what would you work with? The maximum, the highest doctor should be paid, and the lowest earning doctor should be paid.
And I think it's important that Kenyans also understand why we are really insisting on the basic salary. Number one is because it's what determines your pension. Number two is because it's what determines your medical services. Right now, doctors pay more taxes than their basic salary. Okay. So in terms of basic salary movement in Band D, it comes to about 77,000. Okay. It comes to about 77,000, which is the basic salary.
Okay. So
right.
Let me look. I'll put this question I'll be very direct. According to the CBA, the minimum, correct me if I'm wrong, the total package for job group, this is L. Minimum should earn 325,000.
Basic salary here, 107,000. Okay.
Basic salary,
now,
and
according to the SRC bands, that basic salary here is 77,000.
Okay. Yeah. Basic salary and allowances.
Yes.
325,730.
Remember, these allowances we have not been given.
Fine. So what would you work with here?
Here.
As the minimum,
Here.
If still the same 325,000?
If we work with the SRC band.
Yes.
And maintained a few allowances, that will be 290,000.
Yes.
So you'll be willing to work with 290,000.
Definitely.
Job group L.
Yes.
And that is job group L.
That's band D.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the highest paid, which is job group T, I think.
Yes.
852,000. You'll be willing to work with.
Here will be 540.
540. Okay. That's what you'll be willing to work with.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah. And those are already in the government.
And they have not proposed this.
In fact, we are wondering because the job evaluation has already given them guidelines.
Okay, and Thursday you ready?
We don't have a choice. You know, it's how can a justice system give one party a condition that you go and make sure that you get a deal? It's not upon ourselves to get a deal. It's upon the government also to sit down with us and get a deal. Okay. So if you're not giving us any options, then we look like we are already prisoners even before we engage in the process.
Okay, I'd like you to answer this question as we wind up. Ndegwa in Nairobi says it's very easy to note that, it's very easy, if that's what he meant, to note that the arrogance betrayed by the doctor arises from the fact that they make even more money through their private engagements and that they are a privileged lot. However, it's just a matter of time and they will know pride comes before a fall. And the action is a mockery to God. Of course, there are also those who are supporting you, and I've read those tweets, but this is because I want to ask a question to you. And finally, Vincent in Kilifi says, we are now afraid of doctors. Our confidence in them is low. I don't know how we will face them with our lives when they decide to come back. How do you respond to those two questions from the viewers?
Now, Vincent, just because we're having a dispute right now, yes, like you may have a dispute within your family, that doesn't mean that you lose faith in your family member. Remember, we work as a team, and in this team it has your government, in this team it also has your employer, and in this team it also has your drugs and your equipment and all that. Just because we are on the streets now doesn't mean that our knowledge is over. Yeah? Okay. Let Vincent know that even when we go back to the hospitals, he shouldn't look at us like, oh, we have lost our skill or we are unable to deliver. This CBA will guarantee you that the same services that you're receiving in these private hospitals are always present in your government hospitals at any time of the day. So I want to tell him that our members who are the doctors are the best. Many people come here seeking doctors of Kenya. When we go out, and this has been happening, we've lost more than 2,000 doctors in the last 3 years. And when we go out there, we never miss to get work in these first world countries, be it Australia or America or the UK, because we are sought after. It is us in Kenya who they don't realize that we are very, I mean, the best of the best in this country, really.
That is Jerry Chege, the Deputy National Treasurer, KMPDU, and Secretary General Oma Oluga. Kenya still continues to suffer. We really hope there'll be a solution to this. Keep talking to us.
I want to make a final statement to Kenyans. And you've seen very harsh tones and sometimes us having lots and lots of exchanges with the government. It is not our intention that we are on strike. In fact, we never imagined that we will ever be on strike. Doctor strike happened all over the world, and we want to thank Kenyans who have been with us. We know that the situation is really dire. We want to tell Kenyans it's time that we had a very serious discussion and sorted doctors' issues. We don't want to go back to work and then start giving strike notices.
Keep talking to us, 22422. You can text us, and on Twitter using the hashtag The Big Question. Still asking, what do you think is the best way to end this stalemate? We're back after this break. Thank you for making time for us. Thank you.